Won't need these anymore. Can crowns go in the recycling bin?
Toss them on the Goodwill pile. Out with the old. In California, we're just a regular couple living close to Oprah and far from the paparazzi.
Ooh.
But not too far.
You look lovely.
Thank you, so do you.
Before we get into it,
Down with the monarchy. We deserve our privacy.
In this controversy, reignited after Meghan signed a gift with her HRH after stepping away from full-time royal duties.
Well, if Meghan and Harry can quit their family, you can too.
No,
She never stops whining.
no,
They're ridiculous.
no. That is so beautiful. No.
They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm gonna put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends.
Nobody expected a jar of jam to shake Buckingham Palace, but that's exactly what happened. Meghan Markle sent out a sweet little gift basket, homemade strawberry sauce, ribbon wrapped, with a compliments card signed HRH, the Duchess of Sussex. That one glimmering signature, it lit a match under the monarchy. Cameras caught the reaction inside the palace, and the phones started ringing nonstop. Insiders say Prince William didn't just take notice, he made a vow. The moment he's crowned king, those 3 letters, HRH, are gone from Meghan's name for good.
You dropped off this gift basket with ice creams, homemade strawberry sauce to put on top of the ice cream.
Remember that so-called gentleman's agreement from 2020? Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duty, promised the Queen they'd never use his or Her Royal Highness again. And for a while, it seemed like the drama had ended. But now, 4 years later, that title is back. It slipped into private notes, echoed in podcasts, and it's hitting a nerve that runs deep, especially for Prince William, who sees it as a personal dig.
I find it a little bit cringe to give a gift to a close friend and sign it Her Royal Highness.
Why even in private? She's using that full title, Her Royal Highness.
King Charles might brush it off, but behind palace walls, whispers say his son isn't so calm. Prince William reportedly loathes this latest move, and he's already digging for ways to strip the titles the second he takes the throne. So, how did a jar of jam light the fuse on a royal showdown? And can a future king really erase HRH with just one signature? That's the story we're unpacking today.
According to a report in OK Magazine, Prince William plans on stripping both Harry and Meghan of their HRH titles once he becomes king.
It was January 2020, a grey Monday on the Queen's Norfolk estate. Inside Sandringham House, 4 senior royals, the Queen, Charles, William, and Harry, sat down for what's now known as the Sandringham Summit. The deal? Simple on paper, Harry and Meghan would step back, repay taxpayer money, and most importantly, never use his or Her Royal Highness again. That promise was made official the very next week on the royal website, clearly stating the Sussexes would not use their HRH titles since they were no longer working royals.
They want it both ways. These people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention. And then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
Back then, courtiers framed it as a clean, quiet deal. No lawyers, no parliament, just a handshake that meant the shine of HRH would stay sealed away in the royal vault. Commentators picked up on the symbolism. Harry, born with the title, would now just be Harry, Duke of Sussex. Meghan, who had only used the honorific for about 18 months, agreed to drop it completely. Overseas, the press painted them as modern, independent ex-royals. And inside the palace, the older generation finally exhaled, thinking the whole issue was done for good.
She's slaughtered this weekend because there were some business cards in the back of one of her podcasts. She's still using her royal title, HRH, despite our late Queen warning her again.
The first shake didn't come from Kensington, it came from Kyiv. In late April, Meghan casually reposted a thank you note from Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister that opened with Your Royal Highness. No correction, no footnote, just a polished Instagram story broadcasting that band title to 8 million followers. Royal watchers jumped on it, calling the move disrespectful, while inside the palace, staff quietly wondered if Meghan was testing the electric fence on purpose.
It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
Officially, Team Sussex brushed it off, saying it wasn't for business, so why the outrage? But behind the scenes, whispers started flying. Palace insiders say Prince William saw it as a direct shot, proof Meghan thought she could pull out HRH anytime it fit her story. Still, since the phrase came from someone else's letter, she had just enough wiggle room to deny intent. That flare-up faded until a ribbon-tied jar of strawberry sauce turned a minor tremor into a full-blown quake.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace.
It wasn't the Ukraine letter that blew things up. It was a tiny jar of homemade strawberry sauce. On Jamie Kern-Lima's podcast, cameras zoomed in on Meghan's gift basket. Right there, shining on the compliments card, were the words, "With the compliments of HRH, the Duchess of Sussex." That quick little screenshot? It torched the 2020 agreement and flipped what looked like a sweet gesture into a very public challenge.
40 minutes into the podcast, this little picture, quite a grainy picture, flashed up, which shows a basket of, homemade preserves with a card on it, HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan.
Inside the palace, shock quickly turned to fury. One former courtier didn't hold back, calling Meghan's personal use excuse complete nonsense. He reminded everyone that the Sandringham deal made it crystal clear Harry and Meghan were not allowed to use HRH in any way, ever. That rule is still posted on the official royal website, word for word. Yet there it was, Meghan's royal cipher, proudly stamped and sparkling, like the last 4 years meant nothing.
The hypocrisy is beyond anything I've ever seen.
He's a duplicitous, self-centered, vile, disloyal hypocrite.
Brat, to be honest, and very, very entitled.
Courtiers say King Charles gave a quiet sigh and let it go. But for Prince William, that gift slip landed like a depth charge. His friends say every time he sees HRH next to Meghan's name, it feels like a direct challenge to the crown, and he's ready to answer it the second he becomes king. Coming up, we're diving into why William's simmering resentment could flip the royal rulebook faster than you can say King William V.
With King Charles on his way out, Prince William is expected to take over the crown. And apparently at the top of his list is to say, "Peace out, Meghan, you're done." And he plans to formally strip Meghan Markle of her royal title.
King Charles is watching the whole HRH mess from 40,000 feet. He's clearly annoyed, but he's not the type to start a royal brawl. Palace insiders say he'd rather let the issue quietly fade than risk a public clash with his youngest son. Conflict? Not his style.
Prince William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties.
Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH.
Prince William, on the other hand, is coiled like a spring. His close friends say he sees Harry and Meghan's use of HRH as a straight-up betrayal. They claim he's already vowed that the very week he's crowned, those 3 letters will be erased from the Sussex stationery for good. One insider told the Daily Beast it goes even deeper. William is furious, and he's ready to sign a royal decree the second that crown hits his head.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
That growing rift, the father who avoids conflict, and the son who's ready to enforce, now shapes the entire mood inside the palace. Staff are calling it 2 reigns in waiting, as Charles' cautious rule slowly gives way to William's promised crackdown. And if William's anger turns into action, the Sussex brand could lose its most valuable 3-letter shine overnight. But here's the big question. Can a king actually erase HRH with just a flick of the pen? Up next, we're stepping into the legal gray zone where royal power meets centuries of tradition.
Meghan has said through a representative today that she is not using the HRH title. We have literal, tangible proof. It's hardly a secret that the palace has already conducted secret meetings with members of the government to discuss putting the plan into action.
Unlike dukedoms, which are granted by Parliament and locked into peerage law, his or her Royal Highness is pure royal prerogative. It's handed out by the monarch with a simple stroke of the pen, and according to constitutional watchdog Norman Baker, it can be taken back just as easily. The law around it is murky, he admits, but because HRH is a gift from the crown, a king could cancel it through a royal decree, basically the UK's version of an executive order.
Harry and Meghan, they have an issue when it comes to their memory and when it comes to the truth.
Now, the king can end this feud, but not by shaking hands with this treacherous little weasel, but by stripping him and his wife of the royal titles that they love to use for commercial gain without doing any of the work.
There is precedent, but not for someone who left by choice. When Princess Diana and Sarah Ferguson got divorced, Queen Elizabeth quietly took away their HRH titles to mark the end of the marriage. But no modern monarch has ever pulled the title from a prince who's still in line for the throne, let alone from a duchess who simply stepped away from royal duties. That's why palace lawyers are calling William's rumored plan uncharted territory. It might be legally possible, but it's politically explosive.
It has been several months now since our beloved Queen has died. Our Canadians are finding it hard to go on. All Canadians, that is, except for our first guest, the Prince and his wife. We want privacy! We want privacy! Hey, thanks for having us on the show. It's so awesome to be here. It's great. So let me start with you, sir. You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, When?
If King William signs the letters patent, a royal courier could deliver the notice straight to Montecito, and just like that, HRH would disappear from passports, websites, and the Sussex letterhead overnight. But the backlash, media firestorm, possible legal fights, and another round of royal drama could make Megxit look small in comparison. And sources say William knows exactly what he'd be unleashing. So here's the real question. Can the Sussex brand survive or even thrive without the crown's 3 most powerful initials?
I'm thrilled, as you are, I'm sure, that Netflix has renewed Harry and Meghan's deal.
Well, supposedly, but it's maybe just a Meghan deal.
Oh, a Meghan deal. Well, that makes it much better not.
For Meghan and Harry's lifestyle empire, the Netflix shows, podcast pitches, and that freshly rebranded As Ever jam line, the royal aura is like oxygen. Industry trackers say their 5-year Netflix deal, reportedly worth $100 million, ends in late 2025. That's right when Meghan's new cooking and gardening series is set to launch. So every drop of royal prestige, it matters, especially when those contract talks start up again.
Well, by all accounts, the 3rd series of As Ever with Love Meghan is being commissioned. Ted Sanderos, the big cheese at Netflix, says that Meghan's a bit of a rock star.
That's where HRH quietly shows its muscle. Sure, Sussex spokespeople claim the title is never used for business, but insiders point out the strawberry sauce card showed up on a brand partner's podcast, sprinkling royal fairy dust on a product line launching next spring. And this jam, it's no side hustle. Meghan's already renamed American Riviera Orchard to As Ever, launched a polished Instagram, and teased a full lifestyle brand built around that homemade preserve. Brand analysts say it could hit an 8-figure valuation if it rides her global fame and, yes, the lingering HRH glow, even as boutiques scramble through trademark messes.
When the stakes are this high, doesn't it make more sense to hear our story from us?
Oh, shut up. What do you mean the stakes are this high? Who do you think you are? Other than a latte-munching imbecile living in luxury in California while the rest of the world's a cost of living crisis, moaning and whining about an institution which gave you the titles on which you now trade millions of dollars. What are you talking about? What stakes?
Right now, the Sussex brand walks a fine line. Their charity, Archewell, sits next to a lifestyle label led by Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, close to royalty, but not officially endorsed. One marketing exec didn't sugarcoat it, saying, "Lose HRH and you lose the palace's unspoken stamp of approval." That could shake up licensing deals and scare off investors, especially with streaming dollars tightening. But Sussex supporters see it differently. If the crown cuts them off for good, it might boost their outsider image and sell even more jars of jam laced with royal rebellion. Either way, the pressure is building. One letter from King William could turn his and her Royal Highness from a global brand into a historical footnote, and with that Netflix deal winding down, the clock is ticking louder than ever.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
Inside Buckingham, and especially Kensington Palace, staff have started wargaming what one insider is calling the title Showdown. Leaks from private briefings suggest senior aides are now keeping two sets of plans. One for Charles's quiet, do-nothing approach, and one for William's day one decree to strip HRH the moment he becomes king. According to reports in both the Daily Beast and the New York Post, William's team is already drafting the wording for letters patent and prepping a full-blown media strategy for the firestorm that's almost guaranteed to follow.
A new poll by Find Out Now has revealed that most of the public is supporting the king in this family feud, ongoing family feud, after Harry's bombshell BBC interview. It follows the Court of Appeal's decision to not overturn the ruling on his security in the UK.
Courtiers aren't just stressing about the optics, they're bracing for a full-blown constitutional circus. Legal advisors warn there's no modern playbook for stripping HRH from a prince who's still in the line of succession. One wrong move could trigger questions in Parliament, or worse, a courtroom showdown if Harry challenges it under UK human rights law. Former Minister Norman Baker told the Economic Times and the Daily Beast that while a monarch can revoke the title by royal fiat, the law is muddy. That means William would be sailing into completely untested waters. Behind the scenes, palace sources say he's already calling the Sussexes vile and pushing for a total cutoff. Staff describe the mood as two reigns overlapping, with aides quietly picking sides. Some whisper that if William goes nuclear, Harry could strike back using American media and lawyers, turning a royal decree into months of global headlines. Either way, the palace machine is bracing for impact. Every time HRH pops up in Montecito, it tightens the spring. One compliments card turned a jar of jam into high-octane fuel, blasting a buried handshake deal right back onto Britain's front pages. King Charles might choose calm, but the next coronation is sitting like a loaded lever. One pull from William, and HRH could vanish from Sussex branding in a flash, taking Netflix contracts, Archewell donations, and every jar of as-ever jam into uncharted territory. So the question still hangs in the air. Should a prince who walked away still carry his Royal Highness like a stitched-on badge, or will William's first move as king be an eraser that redraws the royal map? The fuse is lit, the clock is ticking, and the next explosion could come the moment the crown changes hands. Stay tuned, because this story isn't over. It's just waiting for its coronation cue.